Good afternoon, Facebook. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Thursday. I'll tell you what, I have to apologize. I got so busy on Tuesday with everything going on. I totally got sidetracked, and I let Daryl and all of you down. So please, if you miss us on Tuesday, throw your blame my way. Otherwise, today we have a great show for you. We have Daryl and Nikki who are going to give us a little talk. The talk is nothing about us without us. And I'll let them go ahead and talk in just a moment here. But again, I want to welcome everybody to the Daryl and Ed show on the Wake and Bake Live, Minnesota Wake and Bake Live crew channel here on Facebook, YouTube. Like to go ahead and let you know that we have a hearing that's ongoing today, discussing some of the cannabis law reform in Minnesota. We also, coming up on Monday, have the adult use cannabis legalization bill, HF 600, coming up for a committee hearing. That's April 12th. So please watch the updates that we post on the Facebook page to when those meetings are. We'll try to go ahead and keep them updated. They do change right now. Like I said, it's scheduled at 1 o'clock on Monday. So good afternoon, everybody. Happy Minnesota spring. Daryl, Nikki, good afternoon.
Well, hi, Ed. Welcome, Facebook. Thank you, everyone. You are correct, Ed. Things are moving quite quickly in the House and in the Senate. They did have a hearing in the Senate. Some of our technical amendments relating to the medical cannabis program are still being heard, and they did not pass through committee. They actually took a break, and they will reconvene again at 5:30 tonight. So hopefully our amendment relating to the medical cannabis program or the provisions relating to bong water and some other technical amendments, they'll be looked at. But and today is a really exciting day because we have a preview of a presentation that we're giving to about 50 self-advocates throughout the metro area and the disability community, and actually throughout the state. It'll be 50 different folks each day. So we wanted to give it to you guys first. So with that, I will introduce myself. Or I'll let Nikki introduce herself.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Is it echoing? I hope not. Well, happy Thursday, Wake and Bake crew. It's a happy Thursday, I hope, if you get to run through the raindrops, hope you have an umbrella. But my name's Nikki Villavicencio, and we're gonna do a little bit of a presentation for everybody called Nothing About Us Without Us. And it's just a basic political advocacy training that anybody could do. Nothing extra, scientific about it, but you can apply it to any type of subject or anything. But we're just sharing it with you, and hope you like it. If you don't, then well, and if you do, then great. We feel that it's important as leaders and disability rights activists that we share information with each other. So that's what we're here for, to share information with each other. So that's what I think was cool about the Wake and Bake crew, is that we all come together and we share our knowledge with each other. So, should we just get right into it? Okay. Well, I didn't do the presentation. Are you going to do a comment before the presentation?
I wasn't to introduce yourself.
Okay. well, then I'm going to try to bring up our presentation here. That's what I was trying to do.
Well, I before you do that, I want to introduce myself.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm an older white man. I use a power wheelchair. I have a cold beard, and I typically wear a golfer hat, I think it's called. I've been around the disability community for about 20 years. Okay, Nikki.
Okay, can you see my screen?
No, we can see a screen there. Yeah, now we can see it. Now we go. There we go.
Okay, here we go.
Hold on, you see that? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can see it. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hold on, you told us you that.
Yeah, he said I can see it and I can hear you. That's what I heard him say. Okay, so nothing about us without us. Political advocacy training with disability rights advocate activists, Nikki Villavicencio and Daryl Paulson. As Daryl was introducing himself, I will introduce myself formally now. I like to be called Nikki Villavicencio. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And what I look like today is I am a Filipinx disabled woman sitting here on the floor, wearing a black jacket, and I have medium length brown hair and black glasses. And as I said, I like to identify myself as a Filipinx mother. And if there's anybody else here, does Ed want to introduce himself?
Well,
Is he good?
I'm here. My name's Ed Engelman.
Oh, here he is.
I'm a longtime activist. I also have been friends with Daryl and Nikki for some time. I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to this little bit of training, if you want to call it that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ed. Thanks. So, as we start, I hear an echo. Hold on.
You can hear that, 'cause that's what I need to hear.
Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to turn it down on my end.
No, because it's from me that you're having
Okay.
issues with.
All right, so how I'm going to start out is nothing about us without us. Why politics? Why should we care about politics? And I'm going to hand this over to Daryl. He loves this part. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, so, nothing about us without us. Why politics? Why should people with disabilities care about politics? It's because if you think about it, our great existence, the quality of life that I can provide my family, the quality of life that I can provide to others, and be contributing members of my community depends on my very knowledgeable or the way I navigate through the political system or the county system or the housing system or any type of system that touches my life. So with that, if you're not at the table, you're on the table. And that's a very real thing to talk about. And,
Yep.
And how does government affect your life, Nikki? And you know how it affects my life and so forth. And there's a number of things. And without knowing how to navigate I understand the importance of politics and what it plays into our lives. We don't get the services or supports that we need and have now.
Absolutely. And how it affects my life personally is, for instance, I'm a bus rider. I take the city bus on about at least once a week basis. When it's not COVID, I would say about every other day basis. I depend on a federal housing program. I depend on a lot of government assistance. I depend on home care that allows me to live every day in the community, and it allows me to be an asset to my community, because without home care, I would not be able to do any of the things that I do in and out of the community. And so that's how it affects my life. But you know, it affects people's lives in a lot of different ways that maybe not like Daryl and I's. You know, maybe there's a way that government affects your life. We all pay taxes. We all know that, right? We all want to license our vehicles and someday get married, and we deal with our local governments, with our trash and our water and everything like that. So, you know, government isn't just for people that look like Daryl and I. The government has a place in all of our lives as American citizens. And what would your life be without the services and supports that you have now? So, you know, I always ask advocates that question because it's important for legislators. When we go up to the Capitol and we want to legalize marijuana, we want to say, to tell the legislators, what would my life be without marijuana? And when you tell a legislator what your life would be like and what type of struggles and pain that you might have on a regular basis, that's something that they can't argue with. You know, that comes from you. They can't deny your own story, and you're a resident and you're a constituent. And so your story is impactful. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. And just a reminder, this is a presentation that we are planning on, we put together for a self-advocacy conference that's a statewide conference in Minnesota here. So it's going to be a little bit different here today on the Wake and Bake show. But you'll still get the same gist of the importance. So the next part of our presentation is a treasure hunt, where we ask folks to find something in their house.
Oh, I got
Okay, do you want to take it away, or you want to talk about it?
What do we do to tell us?
We gotta find something in our house that makes our life easier, our everyday life easier or better. What would your life be without that item? So you gotta find something in your house.
Like my puppy dog here.
I got something you want to see? I got something.
Sure.
Can we see?
I want to see.
I'm sharing my screen right now, so I don't know how to do that, Daryl. Is your camera still on? People can still see or whatever. Your little bubble. I don't know if anybody can see Daryl's bubble. You can always just describe it. Like,
I got it now.
he will describe it anyways. No.
It's green. It's good green stuff. It's green. It grows from the ground. It is gorgeous.
Yes.
I can bring the big buds because the little buds do just fine.
Yeah.
And I'm also a state medical marijuana patient, so I don't do any product diversion or anything like that. So I have to still show you the small buds.
So how does cannabis
There it is. There. Oh yeah, beautiful.
how does cannabis make your everyday life easier, Daryl?
Cannabis allows me to have a quality of life It allows me to provide a different enjoyable lifestyle for my family. For my daughter who's 8 or actually she's 9.
She's 9 now.
She's 9 now, and my wife, who's also disabled and very active in the community, it gives me an opportunity to be less spasmodic and less anxious about things that I need to be doing or things that I don't like to be doing. If I take a little bit of cannabis,
It's a lot easier.
It makes my life
Easier.
a little easier
Comfortable.
and more
Livable.
enjoyable.
Livable.
Definitely.
Well, what would your life be if you didn't have marijuana in your life or everyday life?
If I didn't have marijuana in my life, I would probably be prescribed a number of
Opioids, probably.
Opiates, a number of medications relating to controlling my muscle spasticity or my the tightness of my muscles, and it would allow that medication would allow me to sleep and be more relaxing in my muscles, but in return, it would also allow me to be more doped up and less communicative with
Sure.
others and less engaging.
Absolutely. And cannabis allows you to work, doesn't it?
Yes, and with this
And it allows you to work harder and longer, right? If you didn't have cannabis in your life, you'd maybe be able to work out in the community for maybe an hour or two. With cannabis, you can be out there for hours. And I will attest to the fact that that is true. The more cannabis that Daryl has, the more he's going to be out in them streets, working to legalize it. So if we legalize marijuana, we'll have more productivity. So, I mean, if you're a capitalist, legalize marijuana. And if you're a socialist, legalize marijuana. Whatever you are, legalizing marijuana is a good idea.
So if we go on to the next slide,
Okay.
Again, nothing without
Nothing about us without us.
Nothing about us without us.
Oh, let me count the ways.
Oh, let me count the ways. This is an interesting slide because it actually shows me engaging with Representative Peter Fisher.
In Maplewood.
He's our representative for the great city of Maplewood and
Senate or Representative District
Representative
43A.
And so basically, let me reiterate that because Nikki was telling me about it. So Peter Fisher is Representative, State Representative 43A. And we've known Peter probably for the 8 years, actually the 7 years or so that we've lived in the community. We've lived in the community for about 8 years.
9.
We met Peter right in the beginning. So and actually what he taught us was very interesting. He taught us the real importance of engaging with your local official on every level. At every time during the year. He taught us not only don't reach out to me just during legislative session, but reach out to me in the summertime too.
Yep.
Reach out to me in the winter time. Reach out to me in the fall time, because I want to know about you and how our government is working for you all the time, 12 months out of the year.
And that's how you tell your story, right?
And so we began to have those kind of relationships. We began to talk about once a month or so, and with those conversations, Peter is able to craft ideas.
Yep.
And he's able to think about things that we're thinking about when legislative priorities and policies are coming through his desk. He says, well, I have these clients that are really, I have these
Constituents.
constituents that are really active and they're real, and does this work for them? So it is really important for you to maintain that relationship with your local official.
Yes, thank you. So nothing about us without us. Oh, let me count the ways. One way we can have our story told in public life is to testify on a specific issue at your local, county, state, or federal government hearings. And definition of a hearing, if you don't know, is a meeting of a committee to take testimony in order to gather information and opinions on proposed legislation, to conduct an investigation, or review the operation of a law or policy. So it's basically a big fancy meeting in a room that looks like this on the picture. If you see, this is in the new Senate building. And this is when Daryl and I worked on the Parenting with Disabilities legislation a couple sessions ago.
Oh, and having said that, Nikki, we just had breaking news today.
Yep, literally breaking news.
Would you like to share it?
No, you can, Daryl.
I have been told by
Some union
folks that our parenting legislation has just passed the finance committee. And so it is on its way to the floor, and hopefully we'll get a vote on it.
Or will it? No, it'll go into conference committee.
It should go to conference committee next, so we'll see who the conference.
Because it'll be in
the so forth.
So the next step of nothing about us without us is, oh, let me count the ways. And a way that you can have your voice be heard and your story told is voting in every local, state, and federal election. And the best way to get more information about that is to go to mnvotes.org. And if you see here, it's a picture that says vote here. Daryl, do you want to add anything about voting? I know you're a really good voter, and I know you vote in every local, state, and federal election.
The thing that I like to tell folks is, as we've always said throughout this whole presentation, is that if you're disabled and you need services and you're not active in local government or in your community, then at some point your services or your very assistance is on the table.
Yep.
So one way to combat that is to vote or to volunteer. And as Nikki said, I can tell you, I personally have never missed a local vote, state vote, or federal vote in my whole voting record. So what I can say to that is that I know the government gives me a lot of things. They give me a lot of quality of life. They give me a freedom that I wouldn't have without their assistance. So one of the ways that I give back to the government is to make sure I vote and I volunteer.
And Daryl, who is Justin Dart?
Justin Dart is the father of the ADA. So with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was signed by George Bush in 1991, because of Justin Dart, we as people with disabilities and seniors, we now have the right to access any and all federal, state, local buildings. We have the right to access services, regardless of what our disability is.
And what is the quote?
And say that again.
And the quote, what does he talk about voting?
And the quote is vote like your life depends on it, because it does. And that's really, that's the model that I live by. And that's the model that I go by every year in
Yep.
every election is, I vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Justin Dirk.
Yep. And you met Justin, didn't you?
I met Justin twice.
He's
and I met-
passed away now, but
I met his wife, but yeah, he's been gone for a few years now, but yeah, he's a very profound individual, has worked for government administrations for 50 years, so he was always working in government to shape it for people like Nikki and I and Ed. Ed, you're a veteran.
yeah. So next on the Nothing About Us Without Us tour, oh, let me count the ways. Sharing your story about what it's like to be disabled with your family and friends. You know, when I first became an advocate, I kind of honestly shied away from talking about my political efforts from my family. But as I got into it further, I realized the importance of bringing along my family and my friends into the work that I was doing, because it only makes it better for all of us. And if your family and friends understand the importance of what you really care about and why you're so passionate about it, then most likely they're going to come along with you. And they may not be 100% on your, like 100% as passionate as you, but they might come to like some more events, and it increases it. And then when other people talk about it, they'll be like, yeah, I have a cousin who's really for legalization of marijuana. I think that's not that bad of an issue. I think we should do it too. And the more people talk about it, the more we are getting closer to legalizing full adult use marijuana. So, and when you have an event, like we got a cleanup day, don't we? We got a Wake and Bake cleanup day coming up on 4/20. We're starting in Maplewood, Minnesota, and moving on our way to St. Paul, to the capital. So, that's a perfect event to invite your friends and family to come along and join in, because, who doesn't want to clean up your environment and make it better? It helps us all and makes you feel good. And yeah, it's a win-win.
Absolutely, a win-win for all of us. Clean up 420 Wake and Bake crew, starting in Maplewood and going on to the Capitol. Great, good stuff. And then the next slide is
Nothing About Us Without Us. Oh, let me count the ways. Another way we can pass on the word is making art about your life and sharing it with everyone. A lot of the stuff that Daryl and I do sounds really boring. We sit through a lot of community hearings, or nowadays we sit on a lot of Zoom meetings, and we're like listening to a lot of words. And some days it seems very boring. But let me tell you that our movements that we are in, whether it's the cannabis movement or it's the social movements that are out there, art is a huge part of that. And so when we think about a movement, we need everybody on board. So if there are people in your friends or family that are good at something like artistic, whether it's writing a song, playing a song, painting, drawing, making posters, whatever it is, get them on board, get them to make you something and use it in a protest. Use it and share it with your family. Put it on all your social media. Yeah.
good stuff. We got signs, we got marijuana signs, we got leaves, we got all kinds of stuff. Oh, again, next slide.
Okay.
Nothing about us without us. Oh, let me count the ways. Join a board or a commission or a committee or a group or join the Wake and Bake crew. We're out there. The point is join a group that's collective, that agrees with your policies or your beliefs or your desires.
Or even one of your issues. It doesn't have to be all.
Understand that you can build from that. You can build collective agreements within your group, and you can spread that to other groups and other organizations.
Yep, and you can build collective power. That's the thing that we've learned, right, Daryl? Is intersectionality is the biggest thing that has benefited Daryl and I's work professionally, is that we have partnered with so many different groups of people. We've partnered with unions. We've partnered with the parks commissions. We've partnered with human rights. We've partnered with the Democrats. We've partnered with the grassroots. We've partnered with Take Action. We've partnered with airport workers, janitors. I mean, we partner with anybody who lets us in the door, basically. And, some people might say, well, that sounds hungry. You guys are hungry. Yeah, we are. We're hungry for getting stuff done. We want to come to the table and work. And, that plays into the fact that what I always like to tell people is that legalizing marijuana isn't going to hurt nobody. In fact, I think it's going to benefit so many more people that, we just don't even know. But we know how that goes. I'm going to go on to the next slide as I divert. Daryl, you want to?
I love this one. You can go on to this one and explain. I want to first say, congratulations to Nikki, and I don't say this enough to her. We have spent the last 4 years of her life in our community, even longer, teaching people and telling people what our values are and what our beliefs are. And we've also been on the other side of that too, and listening and understanding. And the thing that I can tell you is that with Nikki's hard work and the 4 years that she's put in, she has now become Maplewood's first disabled Filipino city councilwoman, and she wants to continue the work and bring disability issues and other issues to the forefront. So with that, I'll let her explain the pictures and some other stuff.
Sure. Sorry about that. If you guys see my notifications there, I got a Heritage Preservation Commission meeting tonight. But anyways, so this slide is about working or volunteering for a campaign. I always love bringing this up in communities of marginalized folks, especially folks with disabilities, because they are hardly ever asked to participate in electoral politics. But you know what? When I first was in advocacy, I learned if you want the laws to be passed, you better elect the people that are going to pass those laws, who really care about the issues that you care about. So if we want to have marijuana legalized, we need to elect senators, representatives, city council people, county commissioners, presidents, school board members, all those type of people. We need to elect them that say, yes, I want to legalize marijuana. So working and volunteering for a campaign is a great way to do that and get in the ear of the legislator right from the beginning of their plan and life, political life. So here on the bottom, you can see a group, a few folks, phone banking. It's an important aspect of running any campaign, is phone banking, text banking. We do all of those. And it's an activity that basically anybody with a very little training can do, and you don't have to be great at it, but it's a good thing to try. The other pictures I have here are, we met Congresswoman Betty McCollum at the Maplewood Mall parking lot at the Maplewood Mall Transit Center. Thank you, Daryl. With many other folks there, as you can see. And, it was a coordinated campaign effort. So, as campaigns get closer and closer to their election day, they start coordinating together. And then that's when they do all those big fancy rallies and all that fun stuff. But so this was one of those events in my first election. And as you can see, there's me and my daughter on the right-hand side, and in the middle, and in between, and then right next to me is Congresswoman Betty McCollum, and next to Betty is Rick Cardenas, longtime disability rights activist and St. Paul activist, who just passed away recently, who was my campaign manager actually. And then next to him is Daryl. And then on the other picture is a campaign picture from my first election when I won the Maplewood DFL endorsement. And that's another activity that a lot of folks should get more into, because it's kind of a fun event. It's politics, I think, at its best, because it's the local caucuses is when you get to discuss and negotiate and debate issues with your neighbors, political issues. And so if that's something you would like to do, you can go to your local caucuses, talk about legalizing marijuana, ask whatever political party that you're affiliated with, ask them to put that on their, what's it called? I'm forgetting the word, Daryl.
Put that in their platform.
Platform, thank you.
Or make it a cornerstone plank
Yep, you can.
of their,
So if you go to your local caucuses, you can ask them to add cannabis legalization to their platform. And then that goes to the next level. And we can have further discussions about how to do that. And if anybody has any questions about how to do that, you can contact us. But anyways, volunteering or working
next slide.
is a good way to get your voice heard.
And so with that, Nikki, as a city council person, do you, how many committees are you assigned to, or what kind of things do you do in the community as a city council person?
So currently I sit on 2 committees for the city council, or 2 commissions, and then I am a backup for an alternate, I should say, for a 3rd committee for the mayor. But I do a lot of what was your question? I lost track of what I was saying there.
I just said, what 2 committees are you on, and what kind of other things do you do for the city as a city council person?
Oh, well, the committees are the Parks and Recs Commission and the Heritage Preservation Commission. And I really enjoy those because they are a lot of outdoorsy type of things, and it connects to the community in a way that everybody enjoys and we can all appreciate, and connects us as Minnesotans. I mean, Minnesotans are all about the trails and the environment and everything like that. And so I think that I never thought as a young person that running for office would be something that would be something I would do, or even thought that anybody would think that was a good idea for me. But, I realized that if I want to see the change in my community, then why aren't I the person to be that? And that's really why I ran for office. It's because I wanted to see my values at the tables of power. And so I had this little clip. It's kind of cool. It just is an example of how in the 21st century, running for office isn't the old white man's game anymore. We can use all different avenues and abilities to run for office. And, it's not just for people who you think are the business professional or lawyer type, right? Because we are just supposed to be representing our neighbors. It's about shared values and progress and what's good for all. That's what it's about.
Well, yeah, Nikki, and what I've seen in your progression in your political life is the fact that you don't have to have a lot of money, you don't have to have a lot of resources. All you have to do is have perseverance and willingness to listen to people's BS. A lot of them want to tell you about the squirrels that
Yep.
they want to feed,
Yep.
or about the driveway that the city screwed up when they came in and redid the road.
Yep.
I mean, or the potholes that they simply have to drive over every time they go in down their favorite road. I mean, we hear those stories. What do we hear? We hear those stories on a regular basis. So that's the kind of stuff that local government and city council people get to do and hear about on a daily basis. That's not the glorified stuff. And
Or when a storm happens and things get crashed. It's running for office just means you get to be a connector from the community to the government. I am not the end all be all. I am the voice for the people.
right.
Full stop.
And with that, we are almost at the end of our presentation.
Yeah. Let me get there we go.
We have one more slide, and that's the practice. We can do this with you again off camera, Ed, sometime. We can practice
Telling our story.
telling our story, and we can practice putting that into activism.
I wanted to just read this quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a judge, obviously. And it says, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And I think that's such a great quote because, when we think about the things that we do and why we do them, I want to fight for the things that I care about. But I also want to do it because other people are going to come along with me and care about it too. And so I just think that RBG was awesome and had a great wisdom. And I appreciate anybody who listened to us today. We're not for all, but we are all for one. Nothing about us without us. Questions and contact information. People with disabilities and everyone deserves to be at all tables of power. Cannabis warriors deserve to be at all tables of power.
And with that, I'm going to let Ed give us a rundown of
Okay, well, I'm going to
today's activities. So as Nikki does not share her screen anymore, we'll let Ed come back on and
thanks, guys.
give us the last couple minutes. Thank you, Nikki. I look forward to hanging out with you again in part 2 of activism coming soon. Absolutely, Ed. If you don't see the change, you got to be the change, right? And that's what we talk about. We also talk about that from a faith standpoint and stuff, and from a religious standpoint. If you see a gap, you stand in the gap. You be the connector, so that other people can be that can go over that bridge and get what you got. I mean, why wouldn't you share what you got? We are in the land of the free, the home of the brave, and I mean we're a country of vast wealth. I mean, when we decide to start to hoard that, and we start to design communities, and we start to design pockets of neighborhoods that the schools aren't as good as the other schools, then we start to see the divide of people. But if we start to take away that divide and say that people have the right to enjoy basic freedoms, basic liberties, basic securities, and supports, and they deserve to have access to marijuana, access to cannabis. You know, I mean, I don't care if you like to bong it. I don't like to bong it. It's too hard to bong. But I mean, I like to vape. I like to eat it sometimes. I mean, so however it works for you, however it works for you, you should have the right to do it. And that's really what we talk about in the self-advocacy movement, and we talk about in the disability movement. We have the right to take our own risk and manage our own risk. And a lot of times the government forgets that. So the government needs to get out of our lives and allow us to take our own risk and allow us to fail if some of us choose to fail. But many of us are going to succeed if we're allowed to take that jump. So just let us do it. And with that, Paul Gazelka needs to come on our show and tell us why he doesn't support adult legalization. No. Yes, and with that, I'm not very optimistic about how this looks in the Senate side, because I watched three other amendments that I felt were very appropriate. I watched them all get shot down for the very reasons that they were taking the money, or they wanted to fund these three projects, and they were all good projects. Um, they wanted to fund them out of the heavy slush funds of the Department of Corrections, because the Department of Corrections has not used their budget due to COVID and some other things. So um, everybody's trying to take money out of the Department of Corrections, and Paul Snell, our former chief of police, was reaching out to Senator Eisenberger. Um, I I don't pronounce his name very well, and Senator Eisenberger said that he doesn't believe that we should do these projects because it's one-time money, and if there's no money supporting them in the next biennium or in the next year, he does not support things like that. So it is my job, because he does support our parenting legislation, and he did sign on to it. Um, no, Senator Senator Eisenberger, or whatever his name is. Yeah, Ingerbritsen. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Ingerbritsen. Yeah.
I was getting confused. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Um, so I'm gonna reach out to him a little bit later and tell him how important when he shot down the statewide phone number to the Asian Pacific Islanders hate crime. When he shot that down, I'm gonna reach out to him and say, "Hey, why'd you do that? That's ridiculous." Because all they're doing is forcing um, that job onto the Department of Human Rights, and they're not doing a good job at it anyway. So I mean, and they're under a budget constraint. So um, I have my work cut out for me on some other issues, but I wanted to make sure that anybody that was listening to us, like you, Ed, would know that Sarah, Interbreeding or whatever his name is, he's an interesting cat, and we'll be getting him on the show with us pretty soon. Yeah. Right, that's absolutely right. And what that does is when it puts it in the conference committee, um, it creates senators on both sides and representatives on both sides, and then they have to hash it out, and both sides have to match in order for it to go forward. Well, that's a good thing, Ed, that I empty my bog water out almost every day because I don't want to be charged with the weight of water in my bog. And I see our partner Nikki has just changed her screen to the Wake and Bake crew. So she or some of us just have old systems and old computers that won't allow it to be done. Well, maybe you won't be able to do your screensavers too, or your virtual backup. Absolutely. And the thing is, we needed to get a hearing in the Senate to prove to Gazelka that he doesn't get to strong arm the people's voice. He doesn't get to quiet the people's voice. So it is up to us to use our power in the next 5 weeks to make sure that we get a hearing or two in the Senate side, so we can prove to Mr. Gazelka that the people have power and stoners just don't smoke pot, but they actually vote and they actually are engaged. Right. We need safe and reliable flour to the medical program. We need it today. We understand that patients are using flour already. They obviously are getting it somewhere, and we need to make sure they're getting it from a safe, reliable, tested source. So add flour to the medical program. That's the least you can do this year. Happy 420, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Go back and watch our presentation and tell us what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Thank you. Oh, absolutely.
One God we must be counted to the united and one. In this land we are discounted. Got to end our division amongst men now. So many change.